Hey everyone, my name is Mars, like the planet, and this is Housewarming. Today I'm going to be answering some questions that you guys had about Lexapro. So a little bit about me. So I have already shared my mental health story here on YouTube, and I will link it down below if you are interested in the full story from start to finish. But I have struggled for a very long time with social anxiety, with suicidal ideation, self-harm, and a little bit of depressive, delusional tendencies. And it took almost a decade and 3 different therapists to finally get me to start on Lexapro. So in 2022, after years of struggling, I finally decided to go on Lexapro. I was on the 20 milligrams for about 1 year, and then I finally decided to stop Lexapro after such success. And I made an entire video about why I stopped, but basically I just felt like it was my time. I felt like I had, kind of graduated a little bit. I think it was time for me to see if I could live life on my own without Lexapro. And it has almost been a year since then. It is 2024 since I have stopped Lexapro, and I'm here to say that everything is great. I have not had any of my social anxiety come back. I have not had any of my suicidal tendencies or ideations or self-harm come back. So yeah, today I'm just going to answer a lot of questions that you guys had on my previous videos, and hopefully this video can be helpful to you if you have just started Lexapro, if you're thinking about being on it. So yeah, let's just get into the questions. So the first thing I'm going to talk about are symptoms. I had a ton of questions which I printed out, but basically people asked, did I experience any side effects in the first 6 weeks? Did it cause weight gain? What about my libido? All of these were different questions about the symptoms when taking Lexapro. So yes, when you take any type of medication, there are going to be symptoms, but depending upon your gender or depending upon your body chemistry, there can be symptoms that affect you and symptoms that maybe you don't experience at all. So these are just my symptoms that I experienced. So when I first started Lexapro, I started on the 10 milligrams. When I first started, I had dry mouth and I had a lot of tiredness. Now the dry mouth lasted maybe about a week, but the tiredness, I felt that it was really hard for me to function at work. So I talked to my doctor about it, and she told me to start taking Lexapro at night so I did not experience the tired symptoms anymore. After about 6 weeks, that was the only symptoms I really saw. I did realize that the 10 milligrams really was not working for me, and I will get on, we'll touch on that a little bit later, but I was then bumped up, after 6 weeks, I was bumped up to the 20 milligrams. Once I started taking the 20 milligrams, I did notice that I had a ton of excessive sweating. Now, I am already a sweaty girl. I sweat just a lot. I also live in Louisiana. It was during the summer, but I did notice the second I would step outside, I was sweating. I was also sweating a lot in my sleep. But yeah, I did experience that really in the summertime when I was taking it. But when it got closer to the winter, obviously I wasn't sweating as much, but still to this day, I sweat in my sleep a lot. So I really don't know if all of that was due to Lexapro, but if you do look up the symptoms, excessive sweatiness is one of those symptoms. The next symptoms I experienced after taking Lexapro was a lowered libido. Now, basically, if you don't know, your libido is your sex drive. So I'm going to try to keep this as PG as possible, but it is your just desire to be intimate or to have sex. And it does lower your libido. Now, some people who are in partnerships, some people who are married may see that this is a problem. Now, I did not feel like it had any hindrance on intimacy in general, but yes, you do have a lowered libido. Now, if this is something that maybe you just cannot handle, maybe Lexapro is not for you, but I will say that the good of Lexapro definitely outweighed the cons. Now, the biggest thing that I always saw people asking me was, does Lexapro cause you to gain weight? And the answer is yes. I did gain weight on Lexapro, and I do think that it was a bit of a surprise for me because my doctor told me that Lexapro does not cause weight gain. I remember asking my doctor right off the bat if Lexapro caused weight gain, and she told me no, it didn't. Now, would I have taken Lexapro if I knew it caused weight gain in the beginning? I'm not sure, but I did not know that Lexapro was causing my weight gain. And so it did kind of mess with my head a little bit. I did not mention this before, but I do have an eating disorder. I do have a binge eating disorder, and Lexapro did not help with that at all. So I really don't want to talk about that. That's a totally different, thing I'm dealing with, but causing, But my weight gain was kind of freaking me out a little bit because I was not sure why. I was going to the gym, I was trying to eat right, and I will say on Lexapro, I probably gained about 15 pounds in 1 year. And I know some people are like, I can't deal with that, I can't do that. But from what I've seen, SSRIs, any type of antidepressant like Lexapro, is going to cause weight gain. It's going to cause an increased appetite. I've seen people say that it causes you to crave carbs more. And that's just because it's affecting your brain chemistry. I did have my doctor offer to put me on appetite suppressants, and I really was not interested in that. It really was not that big of a deal for me. I'd rather be happy and mentally healthy and not have anxiety and just be a few pounds heavier than, be thin and be struggling. That was just something that was kind of outweighing the pros and cons for me. I decided that the weight gain outweighed the happiness that I felt being on Lexapro and subsequently coming off of Lexapro. I really felt like the weight gain was worth it. But if that's not worth it for you, then maybe Lexapro isn't for you. I had a couple questions on my videos about the appetite that I had, about what I was able to drink or not drink, if I had any dietary restrictions. Someone asked, can you drink coffee on it? Someone asked if I was able to drink alcohol. And I was never told to have any type of dietary restrictions while taking Lexapro. I was able to drink coffee. I was able to drink alcohol. Now, obviously, I'm not saying go balls to the wall, or I'm not saying start doing shots every day, but there are no dietary restrictions from what I know when you are taking Lexapro. The next person said, do you think that Lexapro helps with sleep issues? Now, I did see a lot of people asking about if it helps with insomnia, if it helps you go to sleep. The only symptom that Lexapro has that is really contributed to sleep is some type of tiredness or some type of fatigue, but that's not sleepiness. I do not think, from what I've seen, now I'm not a doctor or anything like that, that I don't think that Lexapro is really meant to help you sleep. I don't really know if it's really meant for insomnia. That might be a totally different thing that you have to, figure out on your own. But I really don't think that Lexapro helps with any type of sleep issues. This person also asked if it helps with emotional issues. Now, I will say that the best thing about Lexapro is my ability to control my emotions. I felt like Lexapro did not make me a zombie. It did not make me, have no emotion at all. I was able to cry, laugh, be upset, have emotions, but I was able to control them on my own. Before Lexapro, when I had anxiety, when I had all of these mental health issues, I felt like my emotions went 0 to 100. I'm a very emotional person. I'm an Aries. I'm a very emotional person. I can admit that, but I felt like when I was mad, I was so angry. I was violent. I was violent towards myself. I was violent towards the things around me. And I felt like I could not calm down. I felt like I could not control myself. When I was crying, I was inconsolable before Lexapro. When I was happy, I was feeling like I was having these manic episodes. Like I was just elated. I was over the top. And I felt like I had no control over my emotions. Now I feel like I have gone through enough stuff on Lexapro to say that it has really helped me control my emotions. And yes, I am sad. I have experienced death. I've experienced a breakup. I experienced a lot of hard things in life, and I am able to control my emotions. Yes, I'm able to feel them, but I'm able to control them. And maybe I'm not able to take it to 100. Maybe it's at a 70. I will say too that I'm not sure if everyone may feel this way, but I do feel like on Lexapro, I'm able to kind of get over my emotions a lot quicker. I don't hold a grudge. I'm not sad for 3-5 days on end. It's like I'm sad. I feel my emotions. I'm able to control them and I'm able to move on. And I absolutely love that about Lexapro. So the next question said, this was kind of related to weight gain. It asked if I was working out consistently while I was on the Lexapro. So before, I will say this was kind of a litmus test for me, but before I went on Lexapro with my social anxiety, I was unable to go to the gym. I never set foot in a gym before going on Lexapro. And it was just because of the social anxiety. I just felt so weird going into Planet Fitness and getting on the treadmill and thinking everyone was looking at me. I just couldn't do it. But after taking Lexapro, I did start to go to the gym. I'm going to the gym after this video. I will say I have maintained a membership at Planet Fitness for the last 2 years now. And that's just because of Lexapro, because I was able to consistently work out. Like I said, because Lexapro causes weight gain, I really wasn't able to lose a lot of weight working out, but I do think that my mental kind of had to change a little bit. I'm not going to the gym just to lose weight and become skinny or thin. I'm going because it's good for your mental health. It's good to move your body. It's good to do something that challenges you. It's good to, walk 30 minutes a day or do some strength training or things like that, just to make your body stronger. It's not always about just losing the weight and dropping a bunch of pounds and being, a size 2. That is not something that is really important to me. be. But yes, I was working out consistently while on Lexapro. So I did have a ton of questions about where I'm at now. People said, how are you doing now? Did you end up coming off of it or staying on? How long did you feel before you were completely recovered? Do you have to be on it forever? Like, what was the certain amount of time? So I've already made a video about me deciding to stop Lexapro, but basically I decided after a year that maybe I could live without Lexapro. I felt like I was ready to kind of graduate, be on my own, kind of take the training wheels off. And that was personally my decision. I did not talk to a doctor about this. I really didn't talk to anybody about it. I felt like I didn't have my social anxiety anymore. I felt like I wasn't, having suicidal ideation or anything like that. I did feel like I started to have a grasp on my eating disorder now. And I made the decision to wean myself off of Lexapro. This was personally my decision for my body. So you will have to make the decision for yourself when you are ready to come off of Lexapro. It can be a year, a decade, it can be forever. It is truly up to you how long you want to stay on the medication, as long as it is working for you, as long as you are happy on it. I will say to continue taking the medication. There is nothing wrong with continuing to stay on Lexapro. I just decided that maybe after a year, I wanted to see if I could do it. And I stopped taking Lexapro. It was all for the right reasons. It's just like I said, it was a graduation. It was taking the training wheels off. And almost a year later, I feel great. I do feel like when I was on Lexapro, my brain was silent. I feel like I had just no noise going on in my brain. And now after Lexapro, I feel like there's a little bit of noise in there, but it is not nearly as bad as before. I feel like none of my social anxiety has come back. I feel like none of my, suicidal ideation. I feel like none of my self-harm, my delusions have come back at all. But all that's to say that you can stay on Lexapro as long as you like, as long as your doctor is okay with it, as long as you are happy on it. I just decided after a year, let me see how this goes. Let me see if I can handle being without Lexapro. It was just a personal decision for me. And like I said, after a year, I'm still feeling great. I do not feel a need to go back on the medication, but I am always going to be pro medication. If there was ever a point in time where I felt like I needed to be back on medication, I would 100% do it. If there was ever a point in time where I needed to go back to therapy, there was a point in time I was going to do it. I do want to mention that once I started Lexapro and I felt that Lexapro was working, I stopped going to therapy. So it was kind of like I was in therapy, I started my medication, and then I stopped going to therapy and I started my medication because I felt like I really didn't need to do both. I felt like when I was on my medication and I was going to therapy, I was like, life's great. There's nothing to talk about here. Like, I'm good, you're good. Like, okay, cool. Thanks, doc. See you later. So I really didn't need to be going to therapy while I was on my medication. So like I said, now that I'm not on therapy, now that I'm not on medication, now that I'm not going to therapy, I do feel fine. But if there was ever a point in time that I needed it, I 100% would go back. And also to touch on like how long did it take me to feel completely recovered? That is such a personal decision. I do feel like life continues to happen. Just because you're on Lexapro does not mean your life is going to stop happening. I mentioned before that I went through 2 deaths in my family. I went through a very hard breakup. I've gone through a lot of ups and a lot of downs on Lexapro. So don't think that just because you start taking medication, like the sun's gonna like open up, the clouds are going to open up and like the sun's going to start shining on you, your life's going to be the best thing it's ever been, because it's just not true. I do think that's, I don't want to paint that picture, but I do think that being on Lexapro was, I was not able to, it prevented me from spiraling out of control when I was dealing with a lot of these hard things in my life. So I don't feel like I'm ever going to be 100% recovered. I'm never going to be 100%, normal or anything like that. There are still things day to day that I have to deal with. But I did, once again, I felt like after a year, I was personally good to kind of come off of Lexapro. I mentioned that I made the personal decision to wean myself off of Lexapro. I took Lexapro, I took the 20 milligrams every single day. I started to take it every other day, then maybe once a week to see how I feel, and then maybe once a month, and then I stopped completely. And I did have someone say, you definitely should have consulted a doctor before deciding to wean yourself off of medication. Did your doctor say you could do that? Like, randomly, like that really wasn't smart. And I will say that's fair. I should have consulted a doctor before doing it, but it is my body and it is my choice. So I'm never going to suggest that you do that, but it is just a choice I made. I really didn't have any negative side effects. I did not have any withdrawals when I was doing this. I do understand that that is not how you're supposed to take the medication. I do understand that that is not how Lexapro works. So I would never suggest that you take your medication every other day or once a week or once a month. I would never suggest that. That was just something that that I decided to do for myself, because honestly, I really didn't want to go back to my doctor to talk to her about this. This was my choice. And, you know, I didn't want to pay a doctor just to tell me, oh yeah, girl, do what you want to do, because I'm going to do what I want to do anyways. And I felt like I was mentally sound to make that decision. I did want to address some kind of offhand comments that I did get, or questions that I got. Someone said, why are you speaking for everyone? Obviously, some people have serious issues going on. And let me try this one more time. Why are you speaking for everyone? Obviously, some people have serious issues on and coming these meds. Bless you. What? I don't understand. Like I said, I am not a doctor. I am not a therapist. I am just a regular person trying to share my opinions, my experience on Lexapro. If this is not something you're interested in listening to, then like, you can clearly click out of the video and maybe find someone else whose story resonates for you. The only reason why I'm sharing my mental health story, the only reason why I'm sharing my personal story on Lexapro is because I felt like I was so alone. And I know sharing these videos here on this platform is helpful to so many people. I see all of the comments that people are making, and I just want people to know that they're not alone when they are struggling with their mental health, when they are trying to go to a therapist, when they are trying to start medication, when they're on Lexapro. I want them to know that they're not alone. I'm never going to do anything, you know, nefarious or trying to hurt people or being like, why am I speaking for everyone? Like, does it look like I'm speaking for everyone? I'm just me. I'm just a single person on the internet. I did want to mention one more thing. Someone did ask if after gaining weight on Lexapro, was I able to lose the weight? And I will say yes, but there's a little asterisk. But I recently started birth control. So after I got off of Lexapro, I did feel like maybe the weight kind of started to come off. It was maybe like a pound here, a pound there, but it was not like I was just dropping weight left and right. But I recently did start birth control, and I did feel like maybe that was kind of regulating my hormones a little bit, and maybe that was more contributing to my weight loss. But like I said, weight is such a really fickle thing to talk about, because my body chemistry, my hormones are totally different than someone else's. So me and another person who weighed the same amount, look the same, might still have something internal going on that is completely different. So I really cannot say that if you come off of Lexapro that you're just going to drop the weight like that. I don't really know. And I don't want to like just say that, because I would talk to a doctor first. I would talk to a dietitian. I would talk to somebody else that has way better experience than I do. So those are all of the questions that I got on my videos about Lexapro, about my mental health journey. I will say that I understand, trust me, that getting on medication, that deciding to go on medication is very hard. It is just a hard journey, especially when some days all you can do is get up and exist. Some days all you can do is put on clothes and go to work and go home and go to sleep. So I do understand that deciding to get on medication is a huge accomplishment. It is a totally big accomplishment, and staying on medication and being consistent with it, I do understand it's just so hard for some people to do. Some people don't have access to healthcare. Some people just aren't able to pay for it. I do understand that. Trust me, I get it. But I do hope that me sharing my story, that me sharing, you know, these questions and answering them helps you if you are thinking about going on Lexapro, if you're thinking about going to therapy, if you are trying to just kind of deal with whatever is going on in your head. Know that everybody, you know, kind of feels like they're alone. They feel like, you know, what they're experiencing is just them. And I want you to know that you are not alone at all. Trust me, I see you, I hear you, I get it. It's freaking hard. Like, it is so hard to be in your head and just not know. And I get people are like, it's just in your head. You don't need to be on medication. Just go outside and be happy. It's like, girl, no. I also want you to understand too that medication does work. Medication does help. I'm not going to say that my situation is applicable to yours. I don't know what you may have going on. I don't know what mental health issues you are dealing with. Sometimes Lexapro may not work for you, and that is also a struggle. But I will say that medication works. I sing Lexapro's praises all day, every day. Even after being on it for a year and being off of it for a year, I can say that my life has immensely improved since being on Lexapro and coming off of it. So yeah, I really hope that you found this helpful. If you have any other questions about it, I will be so happy to help you and respond to any questions that you have. Just leave them down below. But yeah, I post new videos every single Wednesday, so I will see you guys next week. Bye.